Calder Hayes did not remember when the video first appeared in his work queue. It felt like it had always been there, sitting between broken satellite logs and corrupted alien weather maps. The file name was strange, written in a mix of human language markers and something older, something that did not belong to any known species. But the title that auto-translated onto his screen made him pause every time. Watch before deleted. That part was common enough. Many files came with warnings like that. What followed was not. She keeps sliding into my sheets whispering that she needs my warmth. Calder frowned. The system flagged the file as low priority but high instability. That meant it did not break any laws, but the network really wanted it gone. He should have deleted it without opening it. That was the rule. But after 6 years as a data archivist on the outer human relay station, curiosity was one of the few things that still made his heart beat faster. He checked the surrounding data. No violence warnings. No explicit content markers. No psychological hazard tags. Just a red timer counting down toward permanent deletion. Calder sighed and opened the file. The video was short, less than 30 seconds. The image quality was poor, like it had been copied too many times. It showed a dimly lit sleeping space, clearly human in design. Narrow walls, soft light strips, a single bed fixed into the floor. A human man slept on the bed. His face was calm, his breathing slow. Then something shifted beside him. At first, Calder thought it was a shadow. Then the shape became clearer. A slender figure, slightly taller than a human, with smooth features that did not match any species Calder knew. The being moved slowly, carefully, as if afraid of waking the sleeper. It lay beside him, close but not touching. The being leaned toward the man's ear. There was no sound at first. Then the system auto-translated a whisper. "I need your warmth." The human did not wake. The being closed its eyes. The video looped. Calder leaned back in his chair. His first reaction was confusion. His second was surprise at how calm the scene felt. There was nothing threatening about it. No fear, no struggle, no signs of harm. He checked the metadata again. The file had been uploaded from dozens of locations, human and non-human alike. Each copy was identical. Each was marked for deletion. Calder did something else he was not supposed to do. He searched for references. The internal network returned hundreds of comments, all flagged as archived discussion. Most were from non-human observers. The tone was almost always the same. Invasive behavior, psychological manipulation, parasitic dependency, violation of personal space, but mixed among them were human responses. He looks healthier after. Why does this feel gentle? My grandmother used to say warmth keeps the soul steady. Calder opened a second file linked to the video. It was a medical scan of the sleeping man taken before and after the event. The difference was small but clear. His stress markers were lower. His immune response was stronger. His sleep quality had improved. Calder felt a strange tightness in his chest. He had spent years cataloging disasters, failures, and warnings. This was none of those things, and yet the system treated it like a disease. He checked the deletion timer again. 12 hours remained. During his break cycle, Calder could not stop thinking about the video. He had grown up on Earth, in a crowded city where people lived close whether they wanted to or not. Warmth was not strange to humans. As children, they were held. As adults, they shared rooms, trains, shelters. Even strangers brushed shoulders without panic. Most alien species did not live that way. When Calder returned to his console, new files had appeared. More videos, different humans, different locations, always the same pattern. A human sleeping, the same kind of being arriving quietly, the same whispered sentence, always consentless yet never resisted, always calm. He noticed something else. The beings never appeared when the humans were awake, never when they were stressed or afraid. Only during deep sleep. Calder opened a restricted xenobiology archive and searched for anything similar. The system warned him twice before allowing access. He found an old, nearly forgotten report about a species with no internal heat regulation. Their bodies adapted to environments by synchronizing with nearby life. Without that connection, they weakened. Over time, their population had faded, unable to survive long alone. The report ended with a cold sentence: species considered unviable for integration. Calder stared at the words, unviable, like broken equipment. Another alert flashed. The deletion timer dropped to 10 hours. The system requested confirmation of removal authority. Calder denied it. That alone could get him reassigned or worse, but something deeper pushed him forward. He began to cross-reference human medical data with timestamps from the videos. A pattern formed. The humans who experienced the visits showed better long-term health, fewer nightmares, lower anxiety, stronger recovery from illness. Whatever the beings were doing, it was not harmful. Calder leaned closer to the screen and replayed one clip again. The being's face was close to the human's shoulder, but it never crossed a line. It did not cling. It did not press. It simply existed beside him, sharing space. Warmth, Calder thought, was not just temperature. Humans used the word for comfort, safety, presence. Maybe the translation was incomplete. He recorded a private note in the system, something archivists rarely did. Possible misclassification. Recommend study, not deletion. The system did not respond. Hours passed. More alerts arrived. Higher authorities noticed the delay. Automated processes began overriding manual holds. The deletion timer dropped faster now, as if angry. Calder made a choice. He copied the files into a human-only research subnet, one that allowed volunteers to study unusual phenomena. He stripped the sensational title away and replaced it with neutral language. Nocturnal thermal synchronization event. Almost immediately, responses appeared. Doctors, sleep researchers, psychologists, ordinary people who watched the videos and felt something familiar instead of fear. One message stood out. They don't feel like invaders, it read. They feel like someone knocking very softly and hoping we won't mind. Calder exhaled slowly. He realized his hands were shaking. The main network issued a final warning. Unauthorized data migration detected. Disciplinary review pending. Calder did not stop. By the time the deletion completed on the official network, the files were already spreading somewhere else, carried quietly through human systems that valued curiosity over caution. The video could no longer be erased completely. Before his console locked him out, Calder watched one last clip. This time the human stirred slightly in his sleep. He shifted closer without waking, as if responding to a chill. The being relaxed, its posture easing. The whisper played again. I need your warmth. For the first time, Calder wondered if the sentence went both ways. When the screen went dark, he sat alone in the quiet station, aware that he had just crossed an invisible line. Whatever those beings were, the galaxy had decided they were a problem. Humanity, it seemed, was not so sure. And somewhere in the silence between stars, something fragile had found a place where it did not have to freeze alone. Calder Hayes was not surprised when his access was suspended. The station lights dimmed slightly as his console locked, showing a calm message that felt more threatening than any alarm. Administrative review in progress. Please remain available. The system voice was polite, smooth, and completely uncaring. Calder leaned back in his chair and stared at the ceiling. Outside the narrow window, stars drifted slowly, distant and silent. He had known this would happen the moment he copied the files. Still, he felt no regret. Only a quiet fear mixed with something stronger, responsibility. He was escorted to a waiting chamber an hour later. No guards, no force, just a request and an automated path through the station corridors. Humans had learned long ago that power did not always need to shout. The chamber was small and warm, designed for long conversations rather than punishment. A projection field activated in front of him. One by one, figures appeared. Some were human, others were not. Calder recognized the symbols hovering beside them. Galactic Oversight, Xenological Ethics, Network Stability Council. One of the non-human figures spoke first. Its voice came through translation, clipped and careful. You delayed a scheduled deletion. Yes, Calder said simply. You duplicated restricted material. Yes. You redistributed content flagged as psychologically invasive. Calder lifted his eyes. That part is wrong. A human woman appeared beside the speaker. Her expression was tired but curious. Explain, she said. Calder took a breath. He chose his words slowly. Simple words were harder to twist. The beings in the videos are not invading. They are not harming. The humans involved show improved health and stability. Whatever is happening is mutual, even if unconscious. The non-human figure tilted its head. Unconscious interaction cannot be consent, Calder nodded. Neither is deletion without understanding. Silence followed. It stretched long enough that Calder wondered if they had muted him. Then the human woman spoke again. You're suggesting these beings require proximity to survive. Yes, and that humans are uniquely compatible. Yes. The council exchanged signals Calder could not see. Data flowed behind their calm faces. Another figure spoke, this one clearly non-human, its form shimmering faintly. Our records indicate this species was classified as unintegrable centuries ago. Calder felt his jaw tighten. Your records are incomplete. The figure paused. Clarify. They were judged by species that fear closeness, Calder said. Humans don't. That caused a ripple, not anger, interest. The session ended without a verdict. Calder was returned to his quarters under temporary restriction. No network access, no messages, just time. Time, Calder learned, could be dangerous. He slept poorly that cycle. His dreams were full of cold rooms and empty beds. When he woke, his quarters felt colder than usual, even though the temperature read normal. He wrapped himself in a blanket and tried to distract his thoughts, but the image kept returning. The way the beings moved slowly, carefully, like guests afraid of overstaying. Hours later, the door chimed. Calder almost ignored it. Then it chimed again, softer. When he opened the door, he froze. The being stood in the hallway. Up close, it looked more fragile than the videos suggested. Its skin shimmered faintly like light trapped under ice. Its eyes were large, dark, and uncertain. It did not step forward. I am not here to harm, it said. The translation came directly into Calder's mind, gentle and hesitant. Calder's heart hammered, but he did not step back. How did you find me? You made space, the being replied. We felt it, Calder swallowed. You shouldn't be here. They're watching. We are always watched, the being said. We are never welcomed. Something inside Calder shifted. You shouldn't visit without permission, he said, though his voice was not angry. The being lowered its head slightly. We do not know how to ask while you are awake. That answer hurt more than Calder expected. Do you need warmth right now? He asked. Yes, the being said honestly. But more than that, we need understanding. Calder stepped aside. Come in. The being hesitated, then crossed the threshold. The air in the room changed, not colder or warmer, but fuller, like a quiet presence settling. They sat on opposite sides of the room. Calder did not move closer. He waited. We learn to survive by listening, the being said. By feeling rhythms. Sleep opens humans in ways waking does not, Calder nodded slowly. Most species fear that. Yes, the being said, they call us intruders. Calder thought of the council's words. Invasive, parasitic, unviable. You never intended to hide forever, Calder said. No, the being replied. We intended to be invited. The room fell silent again. Later, after the being had left as quietly as it arrived, Calder realized something important. The being had not taken warmth from him. He felt no chill. Instead, he felt rested, clear. The next day, the council reconvened. This time, Calder was not alone. Dozens of human representatives appeared: doctors, researchers, citizens, ordinary people who had volunteered after seeing the files Calder shared. Data filled the space: charts, medical scans, psychological reports. One human doctor spoke: "We observed no harm, only benefit." Another added: "The beings respect boundaries when given structure." A non-human council member interrupted: "This challenges established classifications." Calder spoke again, steadier now: "So did humans once." The words hung heavy. The debate lasted hours. No raised voices, no threats, just a slow realization spreading through the room. The beings were not a danger. They were a mirror. Other species had evolved to survive alone. Humans had evolved to survive together. The council did not fully approve integration. Not yet, but they halted deletion. They allowed study. They allowed controlled contact. It was not a victory, but it was space. That night on human stations and worlds, sleep labs opened. Volunteers lay down willingly, informed, curious. And quietly, gently, the beings came, not as whispers in secret, but as guests, finally allowed to stay warm without fear. Calder watched the reports come in, his access slowly restored. He knew there would be resistance. Fear did not vanish easily, but humanity had done what it always did best. It made room. And somewhere deep in the cold between stars, a species that had almost faded away felt something new: safety. The first weeks of open contact did not feel like history being made. They felt quiet. That surprised many people. There were no grand announcements at first. No galaxy-wide speeches, just small notices on human networks asking for volunteers. Sleep researchers explained the process in careful, simple terms. Consent was clear. Boundaries were written, reviewed, and repeated. Humans lay down in monitored rooms. Soft lights, calm air, warm blankets, and when sleep came, the visitors arrived. They did not appear suddenly. Sensors showed subtle shifts in energy, like a breath moving through a closed space. The beings formed slowly, their shapes stabilizing near human beds, never touching unless permitted, never moving closer than allowed. Doctors watched their screens in silence. Nothing bad happened. Heart rates steadied. Breathing deepened. Stress indicators fell. Even people who suffered from long-term sleep disorders began to rest fully for the first time in years. The beings, in turn, grew clearer. Their forms became more defined, their movements less hesitant. They began to communicate more often, not only through whispers, but through shared thought patterns that human minds could understand without pain or confusion. They called themselves the Kesh. No one knew if that was a true name or simply the closest meaning human language could form. The Kesh did not seem to care what they were called. Names, they explained, mattered less than presence. Calder Hayes observed all of this from a distance at first. After the incident in his quarters, the council placed him in an advisory role. He attended meetings. He reviewed reports, but he did not volunteer. Not yet. He told himself it was because he needed to remain objective. Deep down, he knew he was afraid. Not of the Kesh, but of what he might feel if he invited one in. The galaxy watched humans closely. Non-human observers sent constant inquiries. How were humans allowing such intimacy with an unknown species? How could they be sure there was no hidden harm? Why did they not build barriers, filters, isolation fields? Humans answered patiently: "We study first. We listen. We don't assume fear means danger." Some species accepted this explanation. Others did not. Trade partners expressed concern. Diplomatic channels filled with warnings about cultural contamination. A few governments restricted human access to shared stations, citing emotional unpredictability. Humans adapted. They always did. Sleep labs moved to human-controlled zones. Mobile research ships were launched. Data was shared openly. No secrecy, no traps. The Kesh noticed this. "You are not hiding us," one of them said during a monitored session. A human researcher smiled. We don't hide friends. The word friend did not translate cleanly. The Kesh paused, absorbing its meaning. Later, one Kesh asked Calder a question directly. "Why do you share warmth so easily?" it asked. Calder considered the answer. "Because we know what it's like to be cold," he said. The Kesh absorbed that in silence. As days turned into weeks, changes appeared beyond the labs. Humans who participated began forming quiet communities, not cult-like, not exclusive, just groups that shared experiences and spoke openly about them. They talked about the feeling of another presence that did not demand attention, about the comfort of being near someone who needed nothing except to exist beside you. Mental health specialists noticed something unexpected. Participants became more patient, more aware of others, less reactive. Extended empathy response, one report read, possibly reinforced by mutual regulation. Other species found that idea disturbing. A delegate from a high-gravity species confronted Calder during a council session. "You are changing yourselves," it said. "This is not natural." Calder met its gaze calmly. "Neither was fire," he replied. That answer circulated widely. The Kesh themselves were changing too. Their dependence on human warmth remained, but their fear faded. They began appearing not only during sleep but in calm waking environments with consent. Meditation chambers, quiet rooms, hospitals. They did not speak much, but when they did, their words carried weight. "We forgot how to be seen," one Kesh said to a human nurse. The nurse reached out, stopping just short of contact, respecting the rules. "You're seen now." The Kesh's form brightened slightly. Not everyone approved. There were protests on some worlds. People who feared that humans were inviting weakness, that warmth would make them soft, that the galaxy would exploit this openness. Humans argued back. Warmth is not surrender. Connection is not control. Compassion doesn't erase strength. The debate was loud, but it remained words, not action. The council struggled. They had no framework for this kind of integration, no precedent. A species that survived through closeness challenged thousands of years of policy built around separation. One non-human council member admitted privately, "Your species is difficult to classify." Calder smiled faintly. "We hear that a lot." Eventually, the council made a decision. They would allow the Kesh to be recognized as a protected dependent species, partnered with humanity under shared oversight. Not ownership, not control, partnership. It was an imperfect solution, but it was real. The announcement spread across human networks. There was relief, celebration, quiet pride. That night, Calder finally volunteered. The room was simple. No monitors, no observers, just a consent protocol, a safety system, and silence. He lay down, nervous in a way he hadn't felt since childhood. Time passed. Then the air shifted. The Kesh appeared beside him, smaller than he remembered, as if unsure. "I won't touch," it said. "I know," Calder replied softly. They lay there, not touching, just close enough to share space. Calder felt warmth, not heat, but a sense of balance, like standing near a steady fire on a cold night. His thoughts slowed, his breathing evened. "You helped us," the Kesh said. Calder closed his eyes. "You helped us too. Others fear what we are," the Kesh continued. Calder smiled faintly. "They always do." The Kesh settled into stillness. For the first time in a long while, Calder slept without dreaming. When he woke, the room felt brighter, though the lights had not changed. Reports came in over the next days. The Kesh population stabilized. Their forms grew stronger. Their ability to remain independent for longer periods increased. They were healing. Human researchers noted something else. So were humans. Stress-related illnesses dropped among participants. Cooperation increased. Even conflict resolution metrics improved in mixed human communities. It was not magic. It was warmth, shared without fear. The galaxy watched, uncertain and uneasy. Humanity, as always, moved forward anyway. And the Kesh, once labeled unviable, now walked beside them, still quiet, still gentle, but no longer invisible. Something fundamental had shifted, not because humans were stronger, but because they had chosen not to turn away. The change did not go unnoticed. Across the galaxy, observers began to notice patterns they could not ignore. Human trade ships arrived calmer, negotiations ended faster, mixed-species crews reported fewer internal conflicts. Even long-standing diplomatic disputes softened when humans were involved. To many non-human leaders, this was deeply uncomfortable. They searched for hidden influence, chemical signals, mind alteration, subtle control. Teams of analysts studied the data again and again, but every result came back the same. There was no manipulation, only choice. The Kesh did not command, they did not persuade, they did not even ask unless invited. Their presence was passive, supportive, and limited by strict human rules, and yet somehow it was reshaping outcomes. Some species began to fear not the Kesh but humanity. Calder Hayes felt this shift before he saw it in reports. Council meetings grew tense. The tone changed from curiosity to caution, then to something sharper. "You are creating dependence," one delegate said. Calder answered calmly. "So do schools, so do families, so does trust." Another delegate asked, "What happens when the Kesh no longer need you?" Calder did not hesitate. "Then we will be glad they survived." That answer unsettled many. Behind closed doors, discussions turned colder. Some species proposed isolation measures. Others suggested reclassification of humans as emotionally unstable partners. A few argued that humanity's willingness to share space so freely made them unpredictable. Calder listened, silent, as long as he could. Then one meeting changed everything. A representative from a long-established, highly insulated species stood and spoke with careful precision. "We believe humanity is being compromised," it said. "Your attachment to the Kesh has altered your decision-making structures." A human delegate responded, "Show us the harm." The representative paused. "You are no longer acting purely in self-interest." The room went quiet. Calder felt something cold settle in his stomach. "That," the human delegate said slowly, "is not harm." The vote that followed did not go humanity's way. The council announced a provisional ruling. Human Kesh integration would continue, but with restrictions. Shared spaces would be limited. Human access to certain joint stations would be reviewed. The Kesh would not be allowed near non-human populations. Officially, it was about safety. Unofficially, it was about control. The announcement spread fast. Humans reacted with confusion first, then anger, then resolve. This was not the first time the galaxy had tried to tell them how to exist. Protests formed, peaceful but firm. Statements flooded the networks. "We followed every rule. We shared our data. We harmed no one." Kesh observed all of this quietly. They did not protest. They did not speak publicly. Many of them withdrew, reducing contact to avoid causing further trouble. Calder noticed the difference immediately. Sleep labs reported subtle changes. Nothing dangerous, nothing dramatic, but the sense of balance weakened. The quiet calm faded. The Kesh were protecting humans by stepping back. That more than anything hurt. Calder requested a private meeting with the council. It was granted, reluctantly. The projection chamber filled again, but this time the mood was heavy. "You are afraid," Calder said after listening to their concerns. He did not accuse, he stated. A non-human council member replied, "Fear is a rational response to unpredictability." Calder nodded. "Then let me make something predictable." He took a breath. "Humans will not hide the Kesh. We will not force them on anyone, but we will not abandon them either." Silence followed. "You cannot guarantee the long-term effects," another member said. Calder met their gaze. "Neither could you when you first encountered us." That comparison stung. "You classified us as volatile," Calder continued, "too emotional, too adaptable, too close, and yet here we are." The council did not answer. Calder pressed on. "You fear that we are changing," he said. "We are, that is what humans do." The question is whether you will change with us or try to stop us." The meeting ended without resolution. Restrictions remained, but something else began. Humans adapted around the limits. They created human-only sanctuary zones where Kesh could exist freely. They redesigned ships with shared warmth chambers. They built architecture that encouraged calm proximity without forcing contact. Everything was optional. Everything was consent-based. The Kesh began to recover their confidence. One Kesh spoke to Calder during a quiet session. "They want you to choose," it said, "between us and them." Calder frowned. "That's not a real choice." "They think it is," the Kesh replied. Calder looked at the being beside him. Its form was steadier than before, stronger. "You are not a weapon," he said. "No," the Kesh agreed. "But you are," Calder blinked. "What?" The Kesh's voice remained calm. "Your warmth spreads, not heat, meaning others see it. It scares them." Calder leaned back, understanding slowly forming. Humanity was not powerful because of technology or fleets. It was powerful because it normalized connection, and connection could not be controlled easily. The turning point came unexpectedly. A non-human medical station on the edge of Council space suffered a systems failure. Life support remained functional, but morale collapsed. The species aboard was known for isolation. Individuals lived separately, communicating only through filtered channels. Stress levels spiked. Decision paralysis set in. The station drifted closer to danger. A human relief ship arrived first. They brought supplies, repairs. And something else. Warmth chambers. At first the station authorities refused. Then their own medics intervened. Stress indicators were critical, nothing else had worked. The humans offered a choice. Some accepted. The effects were immediate, not dramatic, not miraculous. But steady, clearer thinking, faster cooperation, better recovery. No Kesh were present, just humans being human. The report reached the council within days. This time the silence was different. Calder was summoned again. "You didn't bring the Kesh," a council member said. "No," Calder replied. "We brought ourselves." That realization spread slowly but surely. The Kesh were not the source, they were the proof. Humans had always carried this trait. The Kesh simply revealed it by needing it openly. The council lifted several restrictions, not all. But enough. Public statements shifted in tone. Further study recommended. Reevaluation ongoing. It was not an apology, but it was movement. The Kesh noticed. They returned not as hidden figures in the night, but as acknowledged partners. Still quiet, still careful. But no longer retreating. One Kesh asked Calder a final question. "If they ask you to stop," it said, "will you?" Calder did not answer right away. Then he said no. The Kesh's form brightened just a little. The galaxy had not accepted humanity, not fully. But it could no longer ignore what humans represented. A species that did not survive by walls alone. A species that believed warmth was not weakness. And in the slow, cautious minds of the council, a thought took root that none of them said aloud yet. If humanity ever chose to withdraw that warmth, the cold would be felt everywhere. The galaxy did not change all at once. Change, Calder Hayes learned, rarely arrived loudly. It came in quiet adjustments, in rules rewritten with softer language, in meetings that ended without raised voices. It came in pauses where fear once lived. After the council eased its restrictions, many expected a celebration. There was none. Humans did not announce victory. The Kesh did not make statements. Life simply continued, but differently. Stations that once felt cold became calmer. Mixed crews learned to work without constant friction. Even species that refused direct contact with humans noticed something strange when humans left. Things became harder, projects slowed, decisions took longer, stress markers rose without clear cause. No one said it aloud at first, but the pattern was clear. The absence of humans felt like a chill. Calder sat in a council chamber weeks later, listening as reports came in. The tone had shifted again, not suspicion this time, but uncertainty. A council member spoke carefully. We have observed a correlation between human presence and system stability. Calder nodded. We noticed too. You believe this is not dependent on the cache, another member said. No, Calder replied. It never was. Silence followed. For generations, the galaxy had believed survival required distance. That safety came from separation. That emotions weakened logic. Humans broke that belief simply by existing the way they always had. The Kesh watched these developments quietly. They had recovered fully now. Their forms were stable even in colder environments. They could remain alone for longer periods. They no longer whispered from need but spoke from choice. One Kesh visited Calder during a quiet evening. You are no longer required for our survival, it said. Calder smiled. I know. You do not seem relieved, the Kesh observed. I'm relieved for you, Calder said. Not for myself. The Kesh tilted its head. Explain, Calder thought for a moment. Humans don't help others because they have to, he said. We help because we want to. The Kesh absorbed that. You have changed us, it said. Calder shook his head gently. You reminded us. As trust grew, the council made a decision that would have been unthinkable months earlier. They invited the Kesh to speak, not through reports, not through human intermediaries, but directly. The session was broadcast across council space. The Kesh representative stood alone in the projection field. Its form was steady, its voice clear. We were once afraid, it said, not of death, of being unseen. Images appeared behind it, empty planets, cold structures, long stretches of silence. We learned to survive by hiding, the Kesh continued. But hiding is not living. It paused. Humans did not save us, it said. They noticed us. That sentence spread faster than any data packet. The Kesh spoke of boundaries, of consent, of learning to ask instead of taking, of discovering that warmth shared willingly was stronger than warmth stolen in fear. When the transmission ended, no one spoke for a long time. Then something unexpected happened. A council member from a species known for strict isolation requested a human delegation. Not for negotiation, for advice. How do you live so close, the member asked, without losing yourselves? A human answered simply. By trusting that we grow, not shrink. Programs followed, not Kesh integration, human integration. Humans were invited to help redesign shared spaces, to train mediators, to teach conflict resolution not through dominance but understanding. Some species refused, others accepted cautiously. Those who accepted saw results. The galaxy did not become human, but it softened. Calder's role changed again. He no longer argued for permission. He coordinated exchange. He helped translate not just language but meaning. One evening, he walked through a shared habitat where multiple species lived together. The space was warm not just in temperature but in tone, soft lights, open areas, quiet corners. A Kesh rested nearby, speaking softly with a human child. The child laughed gently, not afraid. Calder felt something settle inside him. This was not conquest. This was influence without force. The final shift came months later. A council emergency session was called not for crisis but for resolution. The chair spoke directly to Calder. Humanity has altered the balance of this galaxy, it said. Calder waited. Not through weapons. Not through control but through presence. The chair paused. We formally recognize humanity as a stabilizing species. The words echoed, a stabilizing species. It was not a title of power. It came with no authority, only responsibility. Calder nodded. We accept. After the session, the Kesh approached him one last time. They no longer fear you, it said. Calder smiled faintly. Some still will. Yes, the Kesh agreed. But they will think before they turn away. The Kesh's form shimmered softly. We will travel now, it said. Not to hide, but to meet. Calder felt a quiet ache. You're leaving. We are growing, the Kesh replied. And growth means movement. Calder nodded. You'll always have a place with us. The Kesh placed a hand close to his, not touching but near enough. We know, it said. When the Kesh departed, Calder did not feel cold. He felt proud. Years later, historians would argue about when humanity truly became a galactic force. Some would point to technology, others to diplomacy, but those who looked closely would see the truth. Humanity never conquered the stars. It warmed them. And once the galaxy learned what it felt like to not be alone in the cold, it never wanted to return to silence again. The whisper that once echoed in secret rooms was no longer needed. Warmth was everywhere, shared freely, chosen willingly. And humanity, as it always had, stood open, quietly powerful, dangerously compassionate, and impossible to ignore.